Hey, I'm Olivia.
I'm Regan.
And you're listening to Soarin Around Walt Disney World.
This is the third episode, third week.
Yep.
And what are we talking about today?
Today we are going to talk about our history with the challenge between Parkeology and EveryRide, kind of how we first heard about it and our first attempt and what we see for the future.
Yeah.
So here we go. So for those of you listening who haven't heard about the challenge, we wanted to talk a little bit about kind of some background. So when did you first hear about the challenge?
Well, I didn't really hear about it. Like we were kind of talking about a little bit before, I had a day, you did this when you were really young with Dad, where Dad would take us and try and do every attraction at Magic Kingdom in one day. So not just rides, but shows also. Yeah. And so I did that with him when I was just after high school, so probably like 18. And we did like everything in the park with the shows and still like had dinner outside the park. So we were done by like 3-4 o'clock, I think, with the shows. And so like that got me thinking about like, would it be feasible? And this was, this was 2015. And so a long time ago. I didn't even know that actual like, I don't even know if it did exist back then. Like, I don't know when it started.
We'll get into it.
But, so like, I originally thought about it back then. And then it wasn't until, we lived in Orlando and then we moved away, or we didn't move away, but we travel for work now. And we were going for a trip last September. And I kind of just started thinking about like, okay, the time we're going is a pretty good time to like go on a lot of stuff. And so like, could we do literally every ride in all 4 parks in one day? Like, is that feasible? And I think I timed it out myself before even YouTube searching it. And then so I started YouTube searching it, and it was like, hadn't been long since Park Speed had done their run in May. So it kind of was like good timing for me to find it.
May 2023.
Yeah, May 2023. And so I found their video and watched it and became obsessed with it.
Yeah, that's like an understatement.
Yeah, like I think that video now has something like 11,000 views. I think I'm probably 3,000 or 4,000 of those views.
And I'm another 1,000, I think.
I watched it like every day, like while I was driving to work when I was in Albuquerque. And
listen to it every day.
Listen to it, yeah.
Safely. We're safe drivers.
Sorry. But like, it got to the point where I was like, I knew their route because I like planned it out in my head of how I was going to do it, and then compared to theirs, how much time they were taking on rides, and how much like based on their pictures. Like, it was crazy. It was psychotic. And then we went in September, and I did my first attempt, and it was a disaster.
So I remember the first time I heard about it was when Regan said he was going to try this, and he texted me, and he's like, you have to watch this video, and it was Park Speed's video. And I said, that's impossible. And he said, no, it's not. Look at this video. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And we were actually going down for Halloween to Florida to go to the Halloween party. And Regan and Steph were going there. And Regan literally, between like we were doing something, and when the parade started at 11, Regan's like, I'm going to walk my route. And I'm running around doing all these rides with my daughter, no lines. Highly recommend the Halloween party if you don't want to wait in lines. We went on Big Thunder twice without even getting off. And then we went over to Carpets, and we see Uncle Regan running from ride to ride to ride, timing himself, trying to figure out like which way is the quickest way to go. It was so funny.
So the day after that was my first attempt, and so I was timing how long I was going to lose to walking, like how much time I was going to lose to just movement.
Yeah, so that was the experience with how we got started. We can talk about your actual first attempt and what went wrong, but first let's go back.
What didn't?
Well, yeah, what went right, maybe it would be quicker. Yeah. So let's go back all the way to the beginning and talk about, so the actual challenge started off with Shane and Ted from Parkeology. They first attempted June 16th, 2013. So it was a while ago.
That's a long time ago.
They were trying to finish all the rides at the time.
And it was like 46 at the time?
I think it was 46 at the time. And
there's a video.
There's a video
yeah.
on YouTube. And they came up 2 rides short. So they did not complete. And then in November 8th, 2014 is when they first successfully completed. So like a year and a half-ish later.
And that was still 46.
And that was still 46, yep. And
because they called it like the WDW
46. Yeah, that used to be the old name before they came up with like calling it the Parkeology Challenge. Yeah. And there's a lot of history about these two guys, which we don't have to get into today. But they were the first people in the history that is documented to ride every single ride at Walt Disney World. There was huge buzz about it. Everyone started talking about it. They actually were covered by news media, which when I was reading about this, like literally the cover of the Wall Street Journal, which is crazy. And then in June 2016, the challenge changed when they opened Frozen Ever After, and that's when it became 47 rides. So then it was like, okay, it's a new thing to try to get. So it kept changing and evolving. So even though they completed 46, more and more rides came about. Today, per Parkeology, the total ride count is 54 rides, but things are closing and being refurbished every day. So on their website...
54 makes sense.
Yeah. On their website, they have basically, if you've completed every single ride that exists at Disney, you're in one category. If you complete every open and operating ride, you're in another category. So if Test Track is closed, you're in the right side category. You're not in the top dog category, which is kind of crazy. Like
is
now,
anyone in the top dog?
Yeah, like
brothers?
Apparently, I don't remember if I don't think so.
Because the brothers they were the first people to hit 52
twice,
but that was without Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah, like now it feels like something is almost always closed. So it's almost
because the only times that you can do it are the times where they're refurbing stuff because it's like the crowds.
But
like even during the summer though, they had Peter Pan closed for like most of the summer.
So that's what I think. I'm curious now if there ever is a time when things are open. They talk about it on their website, and of course I'm not going to use the word impossible because that's literally their least favorite word. They will debate with you all day long about how it's not impossible.
Yeah.
But it is. Yeah, it's very, very, very difficult. However, EveryRide started in 2018,
so
and that
Parkeology and EveryRide
two different challenges,
but
similar.
Yeah.
So EveryRide was started in 2018, and that was actually started as a fundraiser for Give Kids the World. That fundraiser and starting EveryRide, people have fundraised over $350,000 with their Give Kids the Rides, is what they call it, challenges. Mm-hmm. So their concept is super similar, but the rules are a little bit different. They allow hard ticketed events, whereas Parkeology doesn't. So like the Halloween party, the Christmas party, etc.
Right.
They also have different rules, like family members can't be runners. Nobody can go get you food.
Parkeology doesn't have that?
Parkeology says no one can bring you food.
Oh, they don't have that. EveryRide does not have that.
Yeah, EveryRide does not have that. EveryRide's like, don't pass out doing this fun challenge. And Parkeology's like, you must die. You will die. So, like, literally, they're just a lot more
That's
strict.
really interesting. Why?
I don't know.
It doesn't affect
I get
anything.
Holding lines. Like,
holding lines makes
both
sense.
Places say, like, nobody can hold your place in line. You can't have somebody valet up to the curb and pick you up and drive you around, which, okay, get that. But
didn't all yours do that?
Have somebody pick them up. I think they just had a minivan, which is okay because any lay person could rent a minivan technically. I don't know. We get into the nitty gritty. There's a lot of
It really is what you make it, to be honest with you.
Right.
It's what you decide.
Yeah. So the EveryRide also has different categories. So they have the EveryRide Challenge, which is trying to do every single operating open ride that day, and they also have EveryRide Points. So this is where, when we first started, I think points is kind of more fun to me.
Points was created for the concept of like people that wanted to do it with their kids that knew they weren't going to do everything, but like how many points can we get? Where can we get on the leaderboard? And yeah, I think points is more fun in that, like, because if you do EveryRide, because you can only sign up for one or the other.
Yeah.
You can't sign up for both. And so if you only do, like, if you don't do EveryRide, but you've signed up for EveryRide,
you don't get
it's like it never happened.
Yeah. So we like to be on the leaderboard, obviously, which we'll talk about. But the points ride is cool. Points challenge is cool. They also have an EveryRide 24, which is completing it in a 24-hour period. So if you start at 3 p.m. one day, your clock starts when you're in line for the ride, and then the next day it ends at 2:59 or whatever, which is a little bit of an easier, obviously, than just the, regular challenge because you can get different, individual lightning lanes, virtual queues, blah, 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 than you could doing it in one day. But it's still difficult.
Yeah.
So I
feel like we could do that in one shot. I'm not going to lie. I know it's probably easier said than done.
Toot our horns, why don't you?
But like 2 individual lightning lanes per day.
Yeah. It makes a big difference.
That's broken. Yeah.
So, and if you hit the hours right. So, yeah, it's, but they're all super interesting. Then you have Nathan Firesheets, who's like next level.
Yeah, he's like God tier.
And he's the guy who I heard about first because everyone at work was like, oh my gosh, did you hear about this guy that did 12 parks, 12 days, all the rides? And I was like, what? This is so cool. And I was like, that's crazy. How do you do that? So if you ever get to listen to any podcast about him and how he did that, it is really interesting.
Yeah. But during COVID too, he tried. I mean, like not like act. It was like 2021, right? Or
2023.
2023.
March 2023.
He still had to do like COVID tests and stuff in Europe.
He did. Yeah. China was super strict.
It's a great story. You got to look it up and hear his story of him doing that because it's insane and it's very cool.
Yeah. So basically, Regan tried this in September, and what happened?
So I did it with 2 of my really good friends and my wife, and we didn't know. Granted, if I could go back and do it today with everything I know now, we still wouldn't have finished it. But we would have done way better.
Yeah.
And but I knew so little about what really mattered, and I didn't spend money on it. I spent money on it. I didn't spend as much money as I think that you kind of need to be successful. And so I didn't know things about just some hacks and stuff that I know that challenge. There's a lot of stuff that we can't really talk about just because it's not because we want to gatekeep. So if you send DMs and stuff, we'll be happy to answer questions. But there's some stuff that we don't know if Disney knows about, and so we don't want to lose those advantages. But anyway, so if I knew everything I knew now, it'd be different. But so I didn't have early entry. So we were starting at Magic Kingdom, started at 9:00, and we only had until 9:00. So I thought this was doable in 12 hours.
That's crazy.
And I truly did. I was this is gonna happen. And I was like, we just need to average a ride every it was 11 minutes or something like that. And but we started off we walked straight to Space Mountain at early entry instead of doing Jungle Cruise, which was my original plan because that's where the normal rope drop people usually go to that aren't early entry. So we went into Space Mountain. And there was already a line, so we waited there. So we lost time there. We lost time waiting for Tron. We lost time waiting for Astro Orbiter. We lost we lost a lot of time around Magic, a lot. But we still did every single ride in Magic, and I think we left the park at 2.
Which at the time that we did this, the park hopping rules were still in place, so you couldn't hop till 2 anyway.
Right, but the goal was to be in the next park by 2. And I don't think that obviously that didn't happen. And I went to Epcot next.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't have any extra hours. I didn't have anything. So all I thought was hey, Epcot's the next busiest place. So let me go try and knock out as much as I can there before there's no Lightning Lane availability and stuff. So I had pulled a Frozen and I had pulled a Remy. I didn't know about drop times. So I had pulled those things just randomly. I just got them. And so that was great. And I had a Guardians Lightning Lane set up and all this stuff. And then we're running around. All right, I had to run to Epcot. Actually, we missed our Guardians Lightning Lane time. And I didn't know that they'll pretty much just let you in, I think, with individual Lightning Lanes. It depends on the cast member, but, most of the time, if you paid for it, they'll probably let you in. But I didn't know that. So I ran from the parking lot, sprinted to the guest services center while my friends and my wife caught up to me. And I asked them about, can you just extend it for me, whatever, and she did. And but then we were doing Epcot, and so I ran from the front of the park. I had a Remy's Lightning Lane that expired in 5 minutes, so I ran from the front of the park by myself to Remy's, which is a long run.
Very long
with
run.
Hills and stuff, and it was not fun. Went on Remy's, and then while I was on Remy's, I pulled the Frozen Lightning Lane for right now, and so I texted them because they had gotten food, and I was meet me at Frozen, and I sprinted all the way to Frozen from Remy. And we were really walking up to the ride, and they shut the doors in front of us, and it broke down. And I mean, it was already not going to happen. We were not finishing the challenge. A, because Animal Kingdom exists,
Yeah.
And I didn't know the safari closed early.
Yeah.
And so, like, it was already past that time. We would have already lost it. But we had already purchased an individual lightning lane for Flight of Passage. So after Frozen broke down, I was like, listen, I'm not going to drag them around the park anymore. Like, let's just go on Guardians and go do our Flight of Passage and go home. Because to me, it's like, if you're like, I mean, if I was with Olivia at the time, I probably would have been like, let's see how many we can do. But like, I was signed up for the EveryRide challenge, not points, and so I was like, hey, we're not doing EveryRide. It's impossible. Yeah. And so we gave up there and finished out the day. I mean, like, but like, I learned so much, and like, I don't think after that time, I was very much like,
we got to do it again.
I'm doing it again. Yeah. I learned so much, like, I got to try again. But I needed to go with people that like had the energy to do it, because my friends were not about it. It was super great of them to try. My wife is not about it. It's not
fun.
It's just not fun for her. And it's not fun for normal people. Like, it's just not. It's the physicality of it, and then like riding all the rides that you don't care about. Like, it's like the amount of times that I've been on Living with the Land because of this challenge more than I have in my whole life. And like Dumbo and carpets, and actually I like carpets a lot. But anyway, we failed, but I wanted to do it again real bad. So that was when I reached out to Olivia.
So then about a month later, October 20th, I have a text from Regan being like, how can we make this work? I'm going to book your flight. Like, let's do this. We got to do this. Talk to Maddie, who's my husband. And so I was like, okay, I really want to do this with you. But first of all, I just watched you fail, and you were so pissed. Like, are you going to be pissed at me if I can't keep up? I was genuinely worried that because he's like 6 inches taller than me, that he was going to 6 inches taller than me, probably. That he was going to take off 5'7".
Yeah, I'm 6'2".
Yeah. So that he was going to take off and be gone, and his legs are faster than me, and I'm going to just be like trying to keep up running, right? So I was genuinely like, my cardio is good, but I don't know if it's that good.
When you were training.
Well, so then, not yet.
Yeah.
But so I run some. I'm not like a marathon runner or anything, but I like to run as my cardio. So I was running some. So
I did not.
Yeah. So he's told me he wanted me to do this. We found a time that worked. So that was October 20th. We went December 10th. And so we had booked the flights, kind of decided what we were going to do. And I started literally training. So every other night or so, I would get on the treadmill and watch the EveryRide challenge.
Because it's like the perfect time for a cardio.
With like Park Speed. So I watched Park Speed's video. I would run the whole time, going uphill, downhill, or walk very fast, like speed walk, kind of depending on like, okay, here we are in Epcot. I'm going up the hill, like literally in my mind. Then as I got closer, started putting the backpack on, and I'm like sending Regan selfies on the treadmill with the backpack on, because I was like genuinely terrified that he was going to leave me in the dust and I would ruin this challenge for him, right? So
talk about also all the things. So like we pre-planned this like crazy, and we also like way spent.
Yeah.
Like, we got the Christmas party. And
we stayed at a hotel for early
entry.
Yep. But it was like a good neighbor hotel, so it was,
it was one of the ones in Disney Springs area. And
then we also paid for lightning lanes. Mm-hmm. We paid for premier parking.
Yep.
So
individual lightning lanes.
So
and then
we'd have to go back through and see exactly how much we spent. And then Regan has an annual pass, but I did not, so I had to get a park hopper, which is crazy expensive nowadays. Yeah. So the park hopper for a day plus Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. Mm-hmm. So that was expensive. And then we also prepped ahead. We did a Target pickup order, I think, or maybe we went to Target.
No, we went to Target.
And we got Gator. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, or maybe before. Yeah. I don't think we did much after all.
So, yeah, let's talk about that. We decided Regan was there, visiting all his friends in Orlando, and all my friends are at home in Sarasota, Bradenton. So we decided to go to Olive Garden, and I was like, this is a terrible idea. And he's like, carb loading. And I'm like, no, Olive Garden and I don't sit right. Well, I got so sick to my stomach.
I didn't have a reason for it. I just wanted to eat Olive Garden.
Yeah. So then we're leaving Olive Garden. I'm feeling fine. We get in the car and we are driving past Disney Springs, and I'm like, Regan, I'm going to poop my pants in your car. Like, I have to get out right now. We're on the phone with his wife, and we're talking to her, and I'm like, they have this brand new car that they had just got, like, a couple months ago, and I was like, I need you to pull over. Disney Springs is right there, so we park at Disney Springs, go to the bathroom, TMI, whatever, and come out and decide to go ahead and get some magic bands. So we spent another, like, $60 on magic bands.
35 each.
Yeah. But I wanted a magic band anyway. So we're like, oh, we're here. Why not? So yeah, if you want to clear out your system before you do an EveryRide challenge, highly recommend Olive Garden. Because I was nervous about, like, I don't know, just eating and things and running. And I was just like, how are we going to do this without getting to go to the bathroom very often?
But back then, in that run, park hopping rules still existed.
Yeah, so we couldn't hop till 2. So we knew that. So we went to the hotel, got our stuff charged up, so we thought. Here's where, like, little thing number 1 happened. I thought my phone was charging all night. Wake up in the morning at, like, 5 in the morning. I had taken a shower the night before, and we probably didn't fall asleep till, like, I don't know, 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
So we tossed and turned a little bit. We were both, like, adrenaline, anxious, ready to go. And we had our backpacks all packed and this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, we wake up in the morning. My phone hadn't charged. So it was at, like, 52%. And I was like, oh, no, that's not good. So we went ahead and we decided to go ahead and charge my phone up a little more. And we made sure we had 2 extra battery packs for the phones and everything for that day. We leave the hotel, we get to Epcot, and we are the first people at International Gateway.
Yeah.
Which was great. So,
yeah. And it also wasn't long after, like, until other people started showing up. So I feel like we didn't get there, like, too early.
No, I remember the first family that showed up. They're like, hey, how are you guys? Cool. And immediately we both started like, we're doing this really cool thing today. We just, like, had to tell somebody, which was really funny. So then they're asking, oh, cool. And we're like, is this your first time to Disney? They're like, yeah. We're like, oh, you this is, like, blowing over. They're like, oh, every ride in Epcot? That's cool. Like, no, every ride in all 4 parks. And then
So our path was intended to be Epcot, Animal, Hollywood, Magic.
Yep.
We were ixing the riverboat and the train because we didn't want to double hop. We didn't know enough about the challenge to really confidently double hop. But also, like, we were just aiming for I guess it was 48 out of 50 that day.
Yeah.
And so that's why we were
points.
just planning on doing points, and why we planned on doing that path instead of doing, like, Epcot, Magic, Animal, Hollywood, Magic.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right. International Gateway. Morning of, we parked at Boardwalk or something.
Yeah.
And then went to International Gateway, and we were there super early. People started showing up, and then we were the first. Yeah. In the first group of people on Remy's.
We were first on Remy until they put us in row 6.
But there was a hitch before that.
Oh, yes. Virtual queue.
Yes. So I was super worried. So Olivia had never gotten lightning lanes, especially not under that kind of pressure. And, like, back then, everything happened at 7 o'clock. Like, anyone that's going now and is like, lightning lane multipass, you can do all this stuff before. You couldn't do anything before. Everything happened at 7 o'clock that morning. And so Olivia needed to get a frozen lightning lane for 9 o'clock. I needed to get a virtual queue for Guardians right at 7. And I didn't know, even now what I know about virtual queues, I'd be able to way more confidently get a lower boarding group, like, way more confidently. But back then, all I knew was really just mashing. And so I was mashing, but I was also looking at Olivia's screen to make sure that she was going to get the frozen one. And so I was mashing, and I just didn't mash enough or whatever. It didn't load well. And this was also shortly after they had made it so that you could get virtual queues without having a reservation for that park.
Right.
For, like, non-day pass or, like, whatever, like, not annual pass holders, like people that didn't have to make reservations for tickets and stuff, you could just get virtual queues.
Yeah.
And so, like, that made virtual queues, like, way more competitive because a lot more people would, like, not care about going to that park unless they got one and stuff, I would imagine. And so we got, like, group 96 or something.
Yeah.
Like, it was probably the worst I've ever gotten. And I've been on that ride, like, 100 times prior.
And the girl that was behind us that was by herself was like, oh, I got boarding group number 2. And we're like, oh, God. Like, what we would give to trade you boarding groups.
So then we had a choice to make, and we had to decide whether or not we were going to so you can only buy 2 individual lightning lanes, now called lightning lane single pass. So you only buy 2 across all parks for the whole day. And so we had to decide if we were going to buy a Guardians and thus giving up our Rise of the Resistance one. That we couldn't buy those until later anyway because we weren't staying on property, so you had to wait until the parks opened to buy those. And so we had to make that decision before the parks opened officially, and so we kind of made the decision that we were gonna buy it. Unfortunately, by the time that rolled around, the earliest time that was available was like 12:30 p.m. Which, if that happened now, I would be devastated because like
you can hop whenever.
Yeah. Back then, we kind of we had to burn that time anyway, so it really didn't matter. It
ended up working out fine.
Yeah, especially because of what happened later in the day. But so we decided to buy that. So we had the virtual queue, and our virtual queue didn't end up getting called until 4 p.m. I feel like. So we would have been screwed. Plus the wait time that you have with the virtual queue
is longer, yeah.
Yeah, so
that ended up working out more in our favor than we had originally anticipated. But so we get in line for Remy's. We're the first people technically in line for the ride. However, they put us in row 6 or 8 or something.
We got sent to the second group of carts.
Yeah, so we ended up getting a little whatever. But we still were on and off that ride before technically the early hours even opened. They let us get on the ride at 8:16, and we were off the ride before park
before
opened.
8:30, yeah. Because we were able to get all the way over to test track before early hours had even started. Or as it was 8:30 hit as we were going up. So we kind of went with the crowd that was going toward Frozen. But we were going toward test track because we had the lightning lane for Frozen, which Olivia got without a hitch, and it hit exactly 9 o'clock. There was no problem at all.
Yeah. So the picture I have on Remy's, it was 8:19 a.m. when we were on the ride. So that's pretty crazy, actually.
Yeah. I mean, to be on and off, and we made good, because that travel time, you waste so much because it's so far away, Remy's. So we started off great. We were in a really good place, and heading over to test track to knock another big one out, and test track hadn't opened.
Yeah. It's number 3. Test track was closed, so we were okay, let's go do Mission Space. So we did that.
Walked basically right on it.
Yeah, walked on it, went from there over to Frozen. And so we were on Frozen taking our picture at 9:01, so it was ride number 3. So we were still pretty happy with where we were at. Went from there over to Soarin', and that's where we hit another little bit of a hitch.
Yeah, so they gave a single rider for that, which I guess is they turn it on and off. I don't know if they did it because it was early in the morning to mitigate wait times or what it was, but there was single rider for Soarin', which was great. Except for we got split into 2 different theaters, and my theater broke down.
Yeah.
And Olivia's didn't. So she was on and off the ride and good to go, whereas my theater took 15 minutes to get going.
I mean, your picture time was 6 minutes after mine.
Okay. So
I got stopped for a little bit too. Originally we thought you were going to get on and off first, and then yours broke down.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I got on, but it's okay. It worked out because I got to go pee. That was the big thing. It was okay, time to go to the bathroom while we're right here.
Yeah.
While he got off.
And
went on Living with the Land, and then we went to Figment, and then we went to Nemo, and then we went to Spaceship Earth, and then we went on Test Track, and that's where we hit another hitch. We did single rider, and I mean, it wasn't that much of a hitch. It just took half an hour.
No, it didn't.
That's what I said in our video. I said we waited half an hour in the single rider line there.
Did we really? I thought it was quick.
I don't know. That's what I said. I don't remember it being long, but that's what I said in our videos. So, and that was in the moment. So we did single rider there, got off basically the same exact time. I think you were the car behind me.
Yeah.
Then we went over to 3 cabs, and then we basically had to wait for our Guardians time, and that was 12:50 to 1:50. So we went and got some lunch and literally sat down and ate for half an hour, refilled our Gatorade, went to the bathroom. And then we got in line right before our Guardians time.
12:45.
And we were on the ride at 1:04. So we still had to wait 20 minutes. Yeah. But it didn't really matter because we couldn't get into the next park until 2 o'clock.
Well, until 1:45.
Yeah. So we left Guardians about, let's say, 1:10. This is where the cardio kicked in, right? So
pull up a map. Pull up a map.
Pull up a map. We'll pull up a map for those of you that are watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we basically took off from Guardians. I got to calculate exactly how far this is, but it'll be interesting with the Fitbit next time. But we were literally at Guardians, took off in a sprint to the boardwalk where we parked. And
so going back out International Gateway. So basically all the way back to Remy's and out, and then around like at least
the boardwalk.
Half the boardwalk.
Yeah. And Florida is flat, but Disney is not flat, guys. Like the hill from when you come around Canada and you're coming by to go like to the International Gateway entrance is steep. Yeah, so we are running. We get to the car and Regan and we had to go up steps when we got to the boardwalk, whatever. We get to the car where we parked and Regan was like, I'm dying. And I was like, okay, I am not going to be the one that's making us go behind today. I felt so good.
Well, actually, and the funny thing is like, even before we started running, I keep telling Olivia that this is like a core memory for me now, is that like we got off Remy's, like the very first ride we got off. And like I was like, all right, we gotta hustle because like it's early. It's gonna start. We weren't running yet because we really didn't need to.
Yeah, no,
because of the park hopping rules.
Yeah.
But we were walking quick, and like we got off the ride, and like y'all, I could not believe how fast she was walking. Like I still don't understand how it works, like physically. Like I don't understand the physics behind it.
Speed walking is an Olympic sport, by the way.
I was immediately like, this is going to be a very, very long day where I'm going to be like struggling to keep up. Granted, I didn't train at all, and I should have. Because it's like a very physical.
It's endurance.
Challenge. Like I think total for the day we walked 21 miles.
Yeah, and we talked about this in our first episode, but that was by our phones. We did not have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch, and when the phone's in the backpack, it doesn't really read it very well. So we think it was probably more than that.
Yeah. But anyway, so we ran to our car, got there pretty quick.
Yeah, like, very quick considering how...
we got over to Animal Kingdom and got into Animal Kingdom at 1:45.
Yeah, and we went to the bathroom at Animal Kingdom. We had enough time. We couldn't get right in.
Yes.
It was like 1:40, and so I was like, we're going pee again because this is our time, and drinking some more water. So we refilled our water at the water fountain, went pee, and then got in. And so when we got into Animal Kingdom, we went straight over to Dinosaur. Is that right?
Yeah. We had to go so our lightning lane for Navi River Journey, which I had snagged earlier in the day, was for
2:10 to 3:10.
2:10 to 3:10. So it kind of like, depending on when that was kind of depend the circuit that we did, either starting with Dinosaur or starting with Pandora. And so we decided that we were going to start with Dinosaur. Also, I think our individual lightning lane for Flight of Passage might have been a little bit later as well.
Yeah.
Maybe like 2:30-ish.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't have it pulled up right here, but something like that.
But we started at Dinosaur, and that when we got to Animal Kingdom, we got inside. It's kind of when we decided like, okay, we got from like that was a really long distance that we ran from Guardians to our car, but we covered it really quickly. Like the difference in running versus walking was pretty significant.
So we're like, we need to start running.
So we ran the entire time in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
And we ran to Dinosaur. Got right on Dinosaur. I think we had a lightning lane for that. Did Triceratops spin.
Yep.
Did Everest.
Yep.
Did Cali.
Yep.
And then did Safari. And then did
Flight of Passage.
And then Navi River Journey. We did the entire park in like less than 2 hours.
Yeah, we were on Navi River Journey at 4:03, and I remember that lightning lane being a little longer than I thought it was going to be. Because and the other thing about Animal Kingdom that I kind of have forgotten, because I had been one time since COVID, like in 2021, but otherwise I hadn't been in a very long time. So I had kind of forgot that the park was so spread out with Pandora. I had only been on Avatar, like Flight of Passage once and Navi River Journey once before that. So I didn't realize how far and how long we were going to have to run. So I literally we took off from the safari and ran to Pandora. And again, we are running, and that was quite a distance as well. Like, we'll have to pull up the map and kind of see where we were at. But when we got to Flight of Passage, we flew through that. Our return time, I just found it was 3:25 to 4:25. So got there obviously within that window. Our picture time was 3:37. So that, we made fine time there. Then we went to Navi River Journey, and I remember we had a lightning lane for this, but we got stuck behind, I don't know if it was slow people or if there were just a lot more people in the lightning lane than we had anticipated, but it took us forever to get through. It felt like forever to get through Navi River Journey. I think it took us 20 minutes or something, and that is such a quick ride. So when we ended at Navi River Journey, we're like, all right, let's book it back to the parking lot. So we took off again, another very long distance. We are running full out, go from Pandora all the way to the parking lot. And we get in the car and we're like, okay, we're still in this. We're going to Hollywood Studios. We felt pretty confident. If you watch our YouTube video, we're like, all right, we're doing good. We're getting to Hollywood. We wanted to be there by 4. It's a little after 4, but we're doing great. And another huge hitch. We get into the park
immediately. That was right away in Hollywood Studios.
Immediately,
because we had a lightning lane for Tower.
Yes,
but we couldn't use it right away. So we needed to buy time. So we got in the single rider line for Rock and Roller Coaster.
And I remember when we got in the line, the standby line to ride together was 45 minutes, and I thought, no way will we wait 45 minutes in single rider. So we're gonna hop on single rider. And when we got in the line, we got to skip through the pre-show. We're like, yes, okay, we're gonna get on this in 10 minutes. We're gonna be good. And we come out and people are kind of moving, and then all of a sudden we just stop.
Yeah.
And we just sat, and we probably waited
45 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I think we saw people that got in the regular line at the same time as us getting on the ride, and we were still waiting.
It was just really, really bad luck in that a lot of people came in pairs.
Twos. Yeah. So that's the problem with single riders sometimes. It worked out in our advantage on Test Track pretty much, and on Everest. Yeah, we didn't wait for Everest at all.
Yeah. So that's the risk with single rider. But there was no lightning lanes for Rock and Roller Coaster, and I tried to pull one. I played the slots for a while. I think both at finishing Animal and while waiting for Tower Terror and stuff, and I could not get a line. So that was kind of the only option.
Yeah. Well, and now we kind of know, depending on how long the regular line is, we'll just have to make a game time decision. I just feel like that really set us back.
Yeah.
Because we left, like I said, we got onto and took our picture on Pandora Navi River Journey at 4:03. Our rock and roller picture is 5:12.
Yeah.
So, we had to drive there. We had to run in the park. Again, running in the park.
It was probably still about 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Because it wasn't a long drive time, and we had preferred.
Yeah.
So, with running, it probably wasn't bad.
So, we went from that and then got onto...
Was it Mickey and Minnie's?
No, that's there. I can't recall.
Tower Terror?
Oh, maybe Tower of Terror. Yeah.
Right. We went on Rock and Roller Coaster to Tower Terror, and then to Mickey and Minnie's.
Yeah,
which we also had a lightning lane for.
Which we had lightning lane for.
That went pretty quick.
Went to Toy Story Mania, and here's where we hit our next hitch. It started pouring buckets.
Rain.
Buckets. We got off Toy Story Mania. Everybody was kind of stopped, we're gonna wait here. So I had bought these ponchos from Old Navy. $3, but I was like, they're $3. Let's just put them in the bag. They were all folded up in this tiny little bag. So we're like, let's just bring them and see what happens. We put them on. We go out and we start sprinting through the rain.
We ran to.
And we ran.
Have we been on Slinky already?
Oh wait. Oh yeah. Hold on. Wait.
So we went on Slinky before.
We went on Slinky
because it started raining on Slinky, but it was not barely. It was raining, but not as hard as it was after Toy Story Mania.
Yeah, that's right.
But also during Slinky, so we had the Christmas party, and during the Christmas party, you can get a boarding group.
For Tron
at 6 p.m. And that happened to line up with right when we were on Slinky.
Yeah.
So the picture of us on Slinky, and I'll throw it up on the screen, is us trying to get the virtual boarding group in the rain on a roller coaster. And it was it wasn't even just the stress of doing that, but the rain was hitting the screen, so you had to constantly wipe off the screens.
Hit the screen, hitting our eyeballs, sweat from running was coming down into our eyes, burning our eyes.
Yeah, it was probably the least enjoyable Slinky experience I've ever had.
And I do remember we got very lucky, truly, because we were on Slinky and we were like, oh, they won't close it unless it's thundering or lightning. And then we hear boom, and
it probably closed right after.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. So we got on and off that, very lucky. Went to Toy Story Mania. Came out, pouring down rain, put on these ponchos.
Monsoon.
And then you have to see the picture of us. We'll put it up on Alien Swirling Saucers because We are drenched, dripping wet. Our shoes are soaked, our underwear soaked, everything is soaked. And we got yelled at.
That was the only time the entire day that we got yelled at to stop running. And I was like, do you understand how hard it's raining right now? Like, you're standing under a covered place. Like, we're just trying to get cover.
We're just trying to get out of the rain.
There's no one else either. Like, it's not like no one else was
we weren't
walking around the paths. Everyone was hiding in shops and stuff. Like, we weren't like pushing people over. There was nobody there.
So I just thought in my head, like, we're either going to get struck by lightning, slip and break our butts, or we're going to be like the most successful people at this challenge, because I could not believe that we then got on Alien Swirling Saucers, went from that over to Millennium. Yeah.
Which single rider was, I mean, like, it's always fast, but like then, like, there was no one on the ride.
Yeah, we got to ride together.
We were the only ones in our little cockpit. Yeah. Like, there was nobody else there. So,
and that's a tip too, single rider, if you don't mind potentially not riding with your party, when you get to the stopping point and everybody's going right, go left up the stairs.
It's so fast. And you skip the pre-show.
And you skip the pre-show.
It's so fast.
So, did that, soaking wet. Then we went over to Star Tours.
Also, mind you, the big thing that's happened from the beginning of the day that we've been watching all day is Rise has not opened.
Yeah.
Like, I think it opened for 30 minutes in the middle of the day, but Rise of Resistance has been closed, like, the vast majority of the day.
Yeah.
And so we're just, at this point, I think we had literally said, like, we're just going to keep going after, like, and not do Rise. Because, like, it was closed. There was nothing we could do.
And we were on the safari, and I have a video of us in our video on YouTube saying, like, Rise opens, so now we're going to have to figure that out, because if it opens at some point during the day, it counts. So even if it was open for 30 minutes and then closed, we wouldn't have been able to, like, count it or whatever unless we got on it. So that was the whole thing. Even though we were doing points, we really wanted to finish. So
because at this point, we had still done everything.
Yeah, we had done everything.
Like, despite all that.
Which is crazy. So we got on Star Tours, then ran in the rain again, still pouring down rain, to Rise of the Resistance. We get in line and we're like, okay, if we get on this, we just finished Hollywood. And we thought when we got off Rock and Roller Coaster, like, we're screwed. We're not going to finish this park. We're not going to get our... Like, we
also,
did
the
not...
park closed at 7 p.m. that day.
Yep, and we were in line at like 6:57.
Yeah. Like, I think somebody had rented out the park for that night or something. There was no, like, Jollywood Nights or anything. It was literally just, like, it closed at 7 o'clock, which, like, we knew going into the day that, like, that was going to be the biggest stress point, is, like, because getting all the other parks done before, like, 8 or 9 is hard, but doing it before 7 was insane.
Yeah.
Granted, and that was also another reason why we didn't do the double hop, is because we knew if we did the double hop,
we couldn't make it back to Hollywood.
There's no way we'd make it to Hollywood and finish it in time.
Yeah. So we made it on to Rise, and that picture is also funny because I'm in shock. Regan's like, okay, we're still in this. Yeah. And we literally...
But also drenched and dying.
Our legs were definitely shot at this point. We get off Rise, and I'm like, we have to keep running. So we run all the way out of the park. It's still raining-ish. Run all the way out of the park, get to the car. We had to change clothes. Yeah. And I told Regan, pack an extra pair of shoes, because what if we get wet? He's like, oh, the forecast is changing. I'll be good.
To be fair, I did pack an extra pair of shoes. I didn't realize how much the extra pair of shoes would suck.
You got Crocs.
I walked around New York City in Crocs and felt pretty comfortable. It was not the call for that day.
No.
I put on the Crocs, and I might as well have just had no legs.
Yeah.
Like, it hurts so bad.
We changed clothes. We changed shoes and socks. Regan put on Crocs. But even if you changed to a normal pair of shoes, our legs were so tired.
Yeah.
So we get to parking at Magic Kingdom.
At the Contemporary.
At the Contemporary. Yeah. And then we take off and go, and we don't run. We're speed walking.
Yeah, because I put on the Crocs and I got out of the car, and I literally remember saying, like, I can't run. Like, my legs wouldn't do it.
And so I was like, okay, we're just gonna speed walk. We're just gonna do as much as we can. And at this point, it had stopped raining. It was like misty.
And, like, to be fair, like,
we were doing okay.
Yeah, we got into Magic. Granted, like,
at 8.
Yeah, and we knew that, like, with the Halloween party that we had just done in September, it was gonna be relatively empty, we thought. And so, like, we still had plenty of time, I think, to finish everything.
Yeah, we did have plenty of time. We went straight to Tron, which was maybe a mistake.
Yeah, it was a mistake. So we didn't know. So back then, I didn't know the strictness of boarding groups with Tron. With Guardians, they're super, super lenient. But with Tron, they weren't always. And so I didn't want to have it be ruined by not being able to get on Tron. So we lost probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes to waiting in line for Tron, like right away as we got to Magic Kingdom, which
because
hurt.
our boarding group was that time. So we were like, if we don't go do this now, like our Tron Cycle Run was group 149 for the Christmas party. Yeah. And so we got called back. I think it was like 7 to 8. And
it was like as soon as the Christmas party started.
Yeah.
We were in the first callback. And so we barely made it to the boarding group in time.
Yeah. So we made it. And actually, I remember walking up there and being like, oh, shoot, it's past our boarding group. Are they going to let us on? And they did.
Yeah. They didn't say anything.
They didn't say anything either. We got on Tron at 8:19. So,
and then I learned later that I guess during the parties they're much more lenient. They were much more lenient. Now I think they're lenient always for Tron because it's older now. But like they would have let us on if we went on at 11:59 p.m.
But so that was one thing that we could have done different. Then we headed over to Toontown and did Barnstormer. We went from that to Dumbo to Ariel to Carousel to Small World, and we were like, all right, you know what? We're doing pretty darn good.
We were doing what? What time was it?
That was 9 o'clock.
So all that was done in less than an hour. 45 minutes.
Yep, and like 45 minutes. Yeah. So then we went over to Haunted. Did we have a lightning? No, there was no lightning lanes.
That's also another thing. During the Christmas party, there's no lightning lanes. So like whatever the wait times are, you just have to accept it.
So we get on to Haunted Mansion, and we're like, all right, we're doing okay. We had mapped out where we want to go from there, and the ride stops. And I was like, oh no. But about 10 minutes later, we sat for a good 10 minutes. We started going again. We're like, okay, we lost 10 minutes, but we're all right. We should have been off this ride by now, but we're good. Get into the next room, the ride stops. Stop for another 10 minutes. And we were like, oh no. And we were like, okay, that's 20 minutes that just got eaten from sitting and doing absolutely nothing. We're like, please just finish. So we finally get out of Haunted Mansion. So it took us an extra 20 plus, maybe 30 minutes.
I think it was about 30 minutes.
Being stopped on Haunted. And so we had our ride picture there at 9:29. We got on to, I think this was Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, because the fireworks started
at 10:10. So that was 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And we sprint again. At this point, we're not sprint.
I think we did run.
We jogged
to Jungle Cruise
because we wanted to get on it when the fireworks are going.
Because it was Jingle Cruise, which is like
for some reason
Jungle Cruise is already like kind of popular, but like Jingle Cruise gets insane wait times.
Yeah,
and we saw it because we got on it. We walked on it because there was nobody there during the fireworks, and then coming off of it, it was like a stampede of people coming over from the fireworks to go on it.
So that was a good choice, but we just didn't get there as soon as we wanted. We were hoping to do carpets first and blah, 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 and we just didn't get to do that. So we got off that, went to carpets, went to Pirates, and at this point is when Regan's like, I don't know that we're going to... And I was like, no, we're still good. We still got it. It's 10:50. We get on Pooh. Or is that right? No,
that's probably Big Thunder.
Oh, Big Thunder. That's right. We get on Big Thunder. 11:08, we get on Pooh, and Regan's face is getting progressively more and more pissed off in all these pictures.
So you have to understand that, so this is December in Florida, so it's not cold, but
we're kind of still damp.
We're still, and then it also started raining again, but misting. So it was misting, and it probably dropped down to 50.
Yeah.
To 55 degrees. And all I had was a shirt and shorts. It's not like I had a hoodie. We were not dressed for cold. And so it just started, it was miserable.
It was miserable.
And it was just because of the weather.
Yeah.
The legs, they hurt, whatever, it was fine. We could have kept going, but the weather was just killing.
Yeah.
And it already crushed motivation coming out of Hollywood when we were just, absolutely drenched. Yeah.
So then we went from Pooh to Teacups. Teacups, we actually got in line at Tomorrowland Speedway.
Which is in the video. There's
we're
going to get on Speedway and we didn't.
We decided if we're going for points, we really wanted to beat that guy Ryan's number of rides
that he had done that same day.
So we were like,
a couple days prior.
Yeah, a couple days before. And so we're like, we are going to just go knock out some easy rides. So we went on the TTA. We went on Space Mountain, which we also want to do some rides we liked, and so we went on Space Mountain, which had
was the
Christmas overlay. So it's
overlay. I cannot describe to you. I've never been on shrooms in my life. That has to be what it's like. I was in so much because I'm a tall person, and so that ride hurts normally, but my legs were in so much pain that I remember I was in the front row, and they have I don't know if y'all have been on the Christmas version of that ride, but they play this crazy version of Carol of the Bells that's just going psycho in the background. And then there's red and green lights flashing everywhere the whole time. And then like I literally it was like a fever dream. It was the weirdest experience ever.
We were so tired. So yeah, we get off that ride and we go to Buzz. And then we go from Buzz to our very last ride, Astro Orbiter. And I remember we were standing in line talking to the cast member. We told him what we had done, and he was like, "Well, go run to Mine Train. Like, at least get on Mine Train." And Regan was like, "No, we're done.
This is it.
This is it." Yeah, and we waited like a while for the elevator.
I mean, we got on Astro at 12:01. It had to have been like 11:58 when we were talking to that guy, and I was like, "We're not gonna make that."
Yeah. Like, he's like, "My legs."
Yeah.
So,
and then on top of that, we would have had to wait probably because there was a line. We would have gotten back even later. Not to mention
our very big mistake.
Probably the biggest mistake. Because like for our livelihood is that we didn't book a hotel for the night of. We booked it for the night before. And so we had to drive an hour and a half back home after walking at least 21 miles, getting rained on, being freezing, like all these conditions. And then like the first time that we really get to sit down and relax, we're driving for an hour and a half. Y'all, I was fighting for my life.
Oh my God. He's literally like, "Are you awake? Can you stay awake?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to keep you awake." And then I'm like asleep and I'm like, "We're going to die."
It was the closest I think that I've probably been to dying or like crash, like just straight up, just like off the road crashing. Ever.
It was not safe.
No,
do not recommend.
Do not do that. It was a horrible decision.
Get the cheapest hotel you can find if you have to.
I still have no idea. Or just pull over at a rest area. Like I have no idea how. The only reason that I didn't just pull over at a rest area is because we both. So like I said, I travel for work. Olivia's from North Carolina. She worked the next day. Right?
No,
the day after that.
Yeah.
But we both had flights that were at like
6
o'clock in the morning.
Oh
Granted,
my
we
God.
left the Magic Kingdom at 12:30 and then had an hour and a half drive. We didn't get in until 2 o'clock in the morning, and then
slept
had
for
to sleep
2 hours.
sleep for a little bit, and then go to the airport because like it left at 6 o'clock, so we had to be there earlier, and it was just an absolute nightmare. Never again. Like
yeah.
This will forever be at least 3 day, 2 night.
Yeah,
like
had
ordeal.
to be 2 nights in Orlando.
Because like it was just, it was tragic. It was awful. Because then even if you do it on the other end, on the back end, you still have to drive an hour and a half at really early in the morning
to get there.
and then do the 21 miles. It just wouldn't be worth it. So So we ended at 44.
Yep. And as far as the points, we were at the time 3rd place on EveryRide points leaderboard. Now we're 5th place. So still, I mean, for our first true run together and not fully knowing exactly what we were doing.
And I know way more now. Even though I knew then we did 45. Like if I had known the stuff that I guess it's changed now, that I knew about Genie Plus before they changed it when we did that run, we definitely would have done it. No question.
Yeah.
Like there are some very, very breakable things with Genie Plus that I knew nothing about. And so, but now that stuff kind of changed. And so that's kind of what we're planning on doing this year. It'll be almost exactly a year from that run.
Yeah.
That we do our next one that we're planning on. We got to wait for the hours to come out for the parks to make sure that it's viable. But we're planning on doing a run around the same time. But it'll be with this new system. And so I'm getting to go, I guess it'll be this week that you're hearing this podcast. Like I will have already done it at this point, but I am getting to test the new system a little bit with my wife, and I are going down for like a chiller vacation down there. And I just asked for one morning where we can do some testing with the new system at Magic Kingdom, just to see about like some new drop time information and just kind of test how it works.
Yeah.
And so an important thing that I learned already is that when you book so you can book your 3 lightning lanes like 7 days in advance or whatever to your stay. And so like I'm staying Monday, Tuesday, and so I booked it for Tuesday on Monday morning the week before.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I had already made a dining reservation so I could park closer at Contemporary, and I had that dining reservation for 9:35. It would not let me make a lightning lane that overlapped with 9:35 to 10:35. And so when I made my lightning lanes this morning, I made one for 8 to 9 for Space Mountain, and then it was like 10:45 to 11:45, and then 11:45 to 12:45 for Pirates and Haunted Mansion, respectively.
Yeah.
And then I was able to cancel my dining reservation and move those times back because it was telling me that there were earlier times available, but it wouldn't let me overlap with the dining plan. So I canceled the dining reservation, moved those times back, and then remade the dining reservation. So little tip for you guys that you can do.
Yeah, be careful with your dining reservations.
Be careful with dining reservations. It is hit or miss whether or not they'll let you park these days, even with a dining reservation. But I mean, yeah, it also, like, you can use the dining reservations if you want. Then if you, whatever, you can still use those to park and eat if you want. But anyway, that's not challenge related.
Yeah, so that's pretty much an overview of our first run. And we'll get, after Regan goes and has a little bit of insight, we can do a little trip recap when he gets back next week. Kind of figure out what he's learned and talk a little bit more about the new system. He also is going to get to ride Tiana's.
Oh yeah, for the first time. Yeah, I haven't ridden Tiana's yet. That's been open for a couple months. I don't have major expectations, just because it is apparently like barely working.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm going to try and get on it pretty early in the morning. I mean, we have quite a few days that we're there, so we'll definitely be able to get on it at least once. So excited for that. Just new stuff. It's cool, always. Excited to do that. But before we go, we should do new versus old. We'll definitely do, well, I guess we can't, maybe we should wait to do Tiana's until you've gone on it as well.
I want to wait to do it till I've gone on it.
But, so what do you think is old versus new this week?
Old versus new. Let's do a quick one because of time. Let's do Norway versus Frozen.
Oh, Norway, 1,000%. And I like Frozen.
Oh, really? I'm surprised by this. I feel like every week I'm like, I'm surprised by this.
No. Yeah, okay, I guess, yeah. Because I'm usually more about the new. Yeah. But like, and actually I think my opinion has changed because I like Frozen a lot, but until I started really, really paying attention to how, like, it's kind of bland.
Yeah, there's a lot of empty space.
Right. The whole scene where you do Let It Go and then you go backwards, there's nothing happening. And I think what was interesting about that with Norway, because it wasn't that dark when it was Norway. It was just pitch black and you were going backwards. And, like, that was very scary, but it was, like, I have, like, really, really good memories on that ride. And, like, it was very original. Like, the trolls were really cool. Like, I still remember all the voice lines. And, like, I think that I watched it recently within the past, like, month on YouTube. And I was like, wow, this ride was really good.
Yeah.
And it feels, like, completely different, even though it's the exact same track and everything. Yeah. It feels like a completely different ride than what exists there now.
It does.
I do think, I mean, like, and they built Frozen quick.
Yeah, they did.
After the success of Frozen. So I think that they just kind of rushed it a bit.
They need to add more animatronics in that ride. Or more scenery or something. They
need to add something. It feels like there's a section, so one of Steph and I's favorite rides in all of Orlando is Hagrid's motorbike adventure, Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure. I forget the exact name. My wife would know. But there's a part in that ride where you go backwards and you go into the Forbidden Forest, and there's like one centaur and like a tree, and then there's like not much else going on. Mm-hmm. And it kind of feels like the whole Frozen ride is kind of like that scene where it just kind of feels like they just kind of like didn't put a lot of effort into like that scene in particular. The rest of that ride's amazing. But yeah, so that's kind of how I feel about Frozen. Do you like Frozen more?
Yeah, I think I do. Well, okay. I think, obviously, nostalgia queen over here. So I do have, like, very vivid memories of Norway. Literally, even the cue, the music that you hear, and then the "you are not the first to pass this way," and the eyeball that blinds you.
Yeah.
Like,
disappear.
Yeah,
like,
I remember all that very well, and I agree. The trolls were super cool. At the time, it was, like, a really cool ride, and you weren't really expecting the drop, the polar bear, like, all these little nostalgia things. But Frozen is such a, like, huge movie. I have two little girls. They're obsessed with Anna and Elsa. And the first time that I took my daughter on that ride, I literally cried watching her be like, Olaf, like freaking out about Anna and Elsa and Olaf and seeing them. Yes, there are definitely improvements that they could do, but I think this is where we're going to role reverse today, and I'm going to say I like Frozen better than the Norway ride.
Yeah, I think I'm more Norway for this one. I think I like Frozen a lot. I mean, it's nothing against Frozen at all.
No.
Just, like, I think they could do more. Like, the whole idea of, like, in a frozen land and, like, doing that is, like, really cool to me.
Yeah.
But I also do like Frozen 2 more than 1. And so, like, I think 1 is kind of, like, just been
overplayed.
Like, just dug to a grave. Yeah,
Let
like
it
it's
go.
just like it's just been played so much that I think I'm just over it. So
Okay.
Norway.
All right. And then for trivia today, the question is, who or what is Big Bertha? A, the largest dinosaur in Dinoland. B, one of the ferry boats in the Seven Seas Lagoon. C, the organ at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa. Or D, one of the animatronic birds in the Tiki Room.
It's not a bird. It's the boat. Is it the boat?
You think it's the ferry boat? I'm going to say the organ.
I think it's the ferry boat.
Oh, it's
the
the
organ?
organ.
God.
Yeah, I'm crushing you with this.
Last ones too.
Okay, yeah, so the answer is the organ at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa. That's what Big Bertha is.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
All right, well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, on our challenge recap. So we'll come back next week, like we said, with a little bit more insight on the new system now that, like, with some hands-on experience, and talk a little bit about maybe what our assumptions are and plan is for our next run in December.
And then your opinion about Tiana's.
Oh, yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about how I feel about Tiana's, assuming I get to go all the way through the ride.
Oh my gosh, I know. Please, it's just broken down so much.
But yeah, all right.
All right,
we'll
we're
see you next week.
soaring out of here.
Stop saying that.